So by this point, most people probably who are going to tune into this already know the gist of what happened. To recap quickly, and then you can fill in the blanks where necessary. The March cover of Arch Digest, I have it, featured actress Sofia Vergara in her Beverly Crest home, and the spread gave credit for the project to the interior designer who finished but did not start the project.
Well, I mean, that's certainly how it plays out in Architectural Digest. Yes.
Yes. So you fill in some of the blanks for me here. What is your relationship to the project and to Timothy Corrigan, who started the project?
Oh, I'd love to. The first part of that is this is my 29th home in Beverly Park that I've worked on, designed and fabricated. And I started in the early 90s there. So I was very prolific and did a lot of homes early on. And now as they're coming through and recycling with remodels or some even tear downs, we've been blessed to be invited back in and work on some of these projects. And the contractor at the time had given me a heads up that they were working on the project and put me in touch with Timothy Corrigan's office. Meanwhile, he and I were Instagramming or messaging, whatever we call that, back and forth as he was working on the chateau about some other things and said, hey, what do you want me to do on this project? I said, yeah, serve the client, make him happy, work with my team. That's always the case. That's how we roll, and that's how I've created a business over all these years. The exciting part is just working on these projects and coming up with a solution. Very, very cool is Sofia and the Sylvia who works for Tim had put together a list of, hey, this is what we really love, and this is really how ADG works in terms of the ADG advantage. They brought me images and they said, we'd like this on the house. And it goes back to when people used to tear pages out of Architectural Digest or take a picture. And I told them lovingly, no, I can't make those for you because those are two lots in Beverly Park that I've already made those projects for. I'll create something new. So we make a nice rendering, create a profile for the client, discuss what their needs are. And it's just a hand wash on tissue that everyone knows I do, and always says add your lick and your schmutz to it and make it beautiful, which I did, which I do. And our team then turns that into CAD drawings, three-dimensional drawings, full size. We hold them up. That was the process. And with the owner's blessing, as we were working on it, it happened. And the architect and I had some sideline conversations just because I have a working relationship with him. And, Andrew was nice enough to just, yeah, I like it. But he wasn't the one involved. As time went on, I had some conversations even with Anna Hoffman Ospina Landscape. And we were talking about how can we, go beyond just from the house. Now we say curbside to poolside, we really mean that, all the infill, because lighting is part of the architecture and should be continuous. So we had pieces at the gates and the welcoming, and Sophia's like, oh, I want this, I want that. So you admonish the elements to represent the homeowner's taste while sticking true to the architecture, and that's how we work. Been very successful over the years doing that. Then some time had passed, and there was a changing of the guard, and the new designer came in who we work with and have done other celebrity homes with and whatnot. Somewhere in there was a, hey, can you also make a couple extra pieces, the gym, the this, the that spot? And I had even created a whole series of other renderings of what should be at the pool, and we could create this beautiful furniture where I was inspired by the key to Cartagena that Sofia had received, and it was this giant key. So there was a little bit of that nod in the pool furniture. We didn't make that in the end, but I have some other designers who want it. So that's good. And then there were some other things within the landscape. Time went on, and Architectural Digest published the article, and we know we don't always get credit. And it's acceptable, but in today's market where their digital versions can provide that credit for you, they on a dime can change. Lux Magazine has always helped us out with that. California Homes, they've been wonderful over the years once everyone went to, some digital variations or the next, issue and giving a nod. Because we are not supplying a product. We are developing and creating a service along with the architects and designers, the landscape architects, and the byproduct of what we do, the fact that we have American artisans building product and and applying that to the homes, that functional detail becomes something that is important to the architecture. Hence, we didn't get it. Crazily enough, I went through multiple rounds of writing to AD, and then the global editor of Condé Nast said, nope, we're sticking to the story. We're not going to change anything. Even after Sofia in her video says, I love the patio is my favorite place. I'm like Don Corleone sitting here on the patio and everyone hangs out. And they pan over, they show all of the lanterns we had created. I'm like, okay, well, don't give me credit. This is very odd. At the same time, Timothy, had his issue with them and they've corrected it with him. He even pointed out in a post, hey, Gerald ADG, thanks, we love you, kind of thing. And he's a gentleman, right? He gave the accreditation where it needed to be. But Architectural Digest still said, no, attribution is really important.
Since you and I first spoke about this, and I've been giving a lot of thought about what I would do in this situation as an editor, because it's easy for me to see myself in that position. If I'm meeting with a homeowner and a designer is there and they say, this is the designer who designed my house, it would be my instinct to say, did you do the whole house? Of course. So I think on the front end of this, I'm sympathetic to Architectural Digest. I think an honest mistake was made.
I think so too.
But I'm so confounded by their reaction to being confronted by you. When you showed me your correspondence with them, it was a little bit of an acknowledgement, but barely. And I just don't really understand why. That's the part that's so confounding to me. Who are they really serving at the end of the day?
Right. I think that, today's marketplace for shelter magazines has drastically changed. A number of architects, well noted, and have had a discussion with me about it too. And I do know that the value is, look, we can't all have attribution, but maybe you can, because in a digital world, if you think of the rolling credits in a movie, the grip who helped the other guy at the taco truck and then brought someone their coffee is getting credit. And I think if we look at architecture in the same manner, it takes a lot of people to build these magnificent projects or even a simple project. So what we have to do at that level then is ensure that we are respecting everyone involved. And the trades work hard. They're not just the people who pay for ads in a magazine, but have valuable experiences to add and elevate the essence of architecture. That's what we say is the hashtag ADG advantage, is elevating the essence of architecture.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much, but I do think it's fair to say Timothy Corrigan's going to be okay. Like, we don't really have to worry about Tim. But who does something like this affect the most? You started to touch on it, the trades, but how many people do you employ and how affected are they by not receiving attribution?
We have, 30 plus families that it probably affects by not receiving the attribution. We're not necessarily getting the next level of work. Mm-hmm. And this rolled true with the Kourtney Kardashian issue, which was the first one with a double cover to sell over 1 million copies. And Martin Ballard had a commentary in that, and the video, Martin said, thanks to ADG lighting, probably 7 times, it was cut out. So this wasn't even Kourtney and her people cutting us out, but it was the editor's choice to do that, but then not give attribution even in print. That's very harmful, because all of those pieces were original pieces for that home. And as Martin came in and redid the home, he worked with us, and Kourtney worked with us continually from the previous owner. So our work shows and is kept. When he received calls of, hey, where did this piece come from? He just shot people over to us because, again, he's a gentleman and someone we've worked with for a lot of years. At that level, where's the harm? Well, the harm is how many people out of 1 million plus would have said, oh, that's so cool. Not, I want that from her home, but some people do. But hey, it looks like you're working with the best of the best. What can we do? They then proceeded to do that with us with Molly Sims. For some reason, I have 3 amazing women celebrity clients, that we've done the work with in AD and never got credit. I'd pan over and show you the picture of Molly standing on her dining table pointing to the light fixture, but that's for me personally, because she said, don't ever share it. But that is sitting here on my wall. So Kourtney, when you're here, you'll laugh at that one. But they did that in those posts as well. And with social media, the virility of someone saying, oh, this is the person that made that, is the difference between someone coming to us and someone just going to a store or going to another vendor saying, hey, can you make that? Because it's not worth their time to find the resources. And this is where we work hard to share that, click, give acknowledgments even when we're posting. Photographers always want, their credit. And we're like, well, wait, you're photographing our IP, and that IP is selling their photographs. So without that in and of itself, where do we go? I even had that with Heidi Klum's house too, where I did it for someone else. She bought the home, and the photographer got upset, that we shared a photograph. I said, I'll pay you your, whatever, $150 for the photograph if that's the case, because most photographers are willing to do that. Manolo, he's an amazing photographer. Anytime he sees our work or we tell him, we just, hey, can I buy those? Can we, go back and forth? And there should be that wonderful sharing. But Condé Nast was really, I know, wasn't it mind blowing, Courtney?
Yes, I'm still racking my head trying to figure out why. And you said something earlier about the nature of, or the reason for shelter publications changing a little bit.
Right.
And I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. It's not an excuse in the slightest, but because they're appealing to or trying to a much larger audience that's maybe not shopping custom, maybe they just want that easy retail product. Is that maybe why they will credit, the side share from CB2, but not something beautiful?
Right. Well,
I don't know.
Large companies have bigger pocketbooks to chase after their PR and their marketing and try to keep everyone in balance, right? And they have bigger dollars. Smaller companies, Main Street America, the artisans like ourselves, we have weathered this. ADG's been around for 20 years this year, and I've been doing this 30 years. I had another family business prior that's still running and very successful. And we note that our passion towards the trades are why and what these other kind of resources, if you may, CB2 and the other ones, are looking to the nod of what someone did creatively and then creating a mass market item for that.
Right.
And we've seen that even with licensing now with Restoration or some of the others, where they'll take not mainstream but more noted artisans who've been in showrooms and push that name out in this branding experience, which doesn't make it a better product and doesn't fit the architecture. The reason an architect does what they do is because this pen in hand designs, creates, and crafts the embodiment and the soul of the architecture, and design supplements that. Together you have, this built environment.
Yeah, I think there's from a public perception standpoint, this is a double-edged sword. There's a fairly large disconnect between the artisans and the makers who, like yourself, who create luxury products, and the public associating you with maybe also having the budget and the resources that your client does. And
potentially.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of where some of the disconnect can come from as well, where there's an expectation that like you can just hire a pricey PR firm and chase after this, or I don't know, take care of it that way, but not necessarily.
Well, we've taken a guerrilla approach. I don't advertise. I have here and there on request. We, will sponsor organizations when in turn members of those organizations have really given us a lot of work. So, and thankfully we will, become a sponsor. The opportunity in this business, I'm like, the crazy Einstein here, right? It's like, I kind of have this nutty professor, mentality, artisan. The ability to do this is not just me. I have an entire team behind me, right? My days of welding and doing things are few and far between. That's only for a cathartic moment in the studio when I can put some patina on it and, do an art piece.
Yeah.
The guys and gals that I have in the studio, in the shop, they're very skilled. They can do old world, they can do modern, they can do anything in between. We can reference and replicate an antique and a vintage piece to elevate and create a one of a kind. This story is not being told in the shelter publications. I've been lucky with Lux here and there. They've given us a few articles. LA Times, Ariel, she wrote an article, and it's a one, and it's off the shelf and gone. And the leverage point isn't the prolific kind of reverberation and over bylines that keep happening of CB2, or they use many other entities that it's not that they're the best, it's just they're available, and that's okay. Everyone needs something beautiful, and I think the retail stores are making some really wonderful pieces. At the same time, that's not architecture, that's just decorating. Yeah. And that's okay too for those that need that. There's a place for everyone in this design community. Attribution, though, is so that our mission critical is the American artisan becomes more prolific and doesn't die away. Many studios have closed over the years. A lot of guys on Melrose are gone, and in New York and San Francisco, they've come to us and want us to buy them. I'm like, what am I buying? My same audience. No, right. I'd love to see those competitors still there, or their legacies taking on. And so there's a story here. I appreciate, Courtney, that you kind of said, wait, the story goes beyond this debacle of, not giving us attribution. The story is what happens when you're not given attribution, and how does that affect Main Street US?
Right, absolutely. So how often would you say this happens, and what sort of industry standards should we change, if anything, going forward?
The other day I had ordered Jake Arnold's book and Martin Ballard's book because I knew our work was in there. And I know in the books, we don't get attribution. It's a rarity. And I have a huge stack. I think several months back, there was a week where I started looking at all these books. I'm like, oh my God, like 5 Rizzoli books just, that came out within the last year have our work in it. We're blessed that we can brag that our work is on those pages. I said, I'm just gonna go to Barnes and Noble and go, thumb through the magazines to see if I even have any attribution this week, just because I was so angry about the, AD issue. And sure enough, House Beautiful, I'm going through, I'm like, wait, oh my God, here's a Jeremiah Brandt project. And look at that. They gave us credit on the lights in the arbor, and we're so thankful. So immediately we post that because we're thankful and we're excited. And, I was able to see the other people who made lights for the home too. And I'm like, wow, that's a cool piece. And I like this. And ooh, this one is not my favorite, but hey, the client loves it. So who am I? It's not my house. That's what this should be about. And when you offer the ability for them to correct digitally, it should be without a thought, verify. And the verification was easy. Call O'Hara. It's not O'Hara's fault that we weren't in there. She knows who we are. And, if you're going to put things in an image, you have to have it. Call Timothy, call the builder, call the homeowner, Right. So I made Sofia a beautiful little bronze flag, and we have a laser engraver here at the studio with the Barranquilla flag, which is from her hometown. And in one of our meetings, literally this big, I slipped that to her. It was during COVID, and the mask on her face, her eyes lit up, and I got the biggest, muchas gracias, and a whole, long line of, excitement that made me feel good. And it really was about the connection between us, the architecture, us, the homeowner, the designer, the builder, the contractor, everyone, the landscape architect, everyone involved. And we know we're not the only ones out there, but we're a part of it. This is the struggle for the American artisan, is the non-commercialization with the opportunity to grow.
It also sounds like they missed out on all of these cool little stories too. There's so much else going on, so much other nuance that they missed out on, unfortunately.
Well, you're not missing out on the story.
I'm not.
Your audience isn't. When I go to Texas to lecture for ICAA, this won't even be a blip on the radar, even though some of us there share the same experience from working on that project, because it's more about the move forward.
For sure.
We're so prolific. 80% of what we do is brand new. 80%. And I now have a team of 22 salespeople, design advisors throughout the country, working with people to build this up so that we can enhance our factory experience, the shop experience with the American artisan, building more people. I want to teach more people the metalwork and the artistry, because this is what projects deserve. And by the way, $1 million project, in LA, that's like a little apartment, but
Yeah.
anywhere else. Now, everyone deserves it. The $90 million projects we're working on sometimes fill them with, things off the shelf, which is the head scratcher to me, but it's not my home. But
Right.
if we can share more positive experiences and let people know it's good. There'll be 1 million short plumbers by 2030. What's wrong with the trades? Why are we not pushing and promoting that? Because we have a housing shortage, so people are working on their homes, adding to them, doing that. And the more people that we can touch, the more experiences architecturally we can do. I think the world's a better place by having prettier things, and you have a smaller waste footprint too, doing it our way, because it's not a mass produced item.
That's a pretty good note to end on. Those are all the questions I have on my end. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you think is super important to get out into the world?
From my, business side, as they say, network to get work. The experiences shared when you go to a round table, we were chatting about that at a recent round table.
Yeah.
When you engage in a community group, the students, we're working with the woman with the Mexican and Norwegian consulates to talk about these same issues, about green, about construction, fabrication. How do we really make that impact that's a positive impact? And that's the message, is how do we do it? We're doing it, and we'd like to do it more. And so I appreciate that you took an interview on to have your audience learn more about it, and we can really, take it to another level. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for all the work you do, Gerald. Our community appreciates you.
Thank you. And I know I'll see you. By the way, I will be in North Carolina apparently now.
Oh,
So
you will. Oh, okay,
yes.
cool.
So we'll see you there.
Awesome. I'll see you in High Point.
You got it. Cheers.
All right. Bye, Gerald.
Bye-bye.